alongside him in 6th row of the grid. 7 and 10, 7 is Ivan Samarin. 10th in the championship now, number 10 is Benjamin Loish. On the 7th row, 4 and 11. 4 is Benjamin Pai, with a Thornton, he's 5th in the championship, and 11, Jack Clark, who, after finishing second in the race yesterday, we were rather surprised to qualify any better. He's because the amount of the race now. On the 8th row, 77 and 26, 77 is
got a really good view of that one.
And 26 is Martina Sorashwara.
No, she was yawning.
5 and 28, 5 recorded this year, and 28 Julian Theobald. And then back of the grid is number 8.
And it's going to go on YouTube.
One of the two drivers that caused 2 red flags in this session, the other being Martina Sorashwara yesterday.
Well, yes, as you say, the Dean Stoneman story, his day went extremely well yesterday. Of course, he dominated the first race, utterly dominated the first race. And we all expected when qualifying came to this race that he'd do exactly the same sort of thing. Now, in the Formula 2, in Formula Bulgarian as well, they have this boost button, this over boost button, and it was an extra 8 horsepower. In the races, they can use it for 6 seconds 8 times, but in qualifying for the first race, they can't use it at all. In qualifying for the second race, i.e. the qualifying session for this race, they're allowed to use it 3 times only, much less than they can in the race itself. Dean Stoneman went out late, thinking that the way of looking after his tyres, qualify on pole position on just one set of tyres, was the way to go, so he went out late. Unfortunately, he used his boost straight away to get himself what he thought would be quite justifiably the pole position time, and unfortunately he didn't quite manage that because he was then pipped by, in fact the driver was Tom Gladys at the time, who had the fastest time. Then the next attempt that Dean made was thwarted by the red flag you just talked about, with the result that he had no further boost available. He used up his 3 boosts opportunities, and he came into the pits and decided it wasn't worth going out again. And not only did Tom Gladys end up ahead of him, of course, but also Kazim Vasiliauskas and Philip Egg ended up going quicker as well. So that's why he ended up being dumped quite a long way down the grid, David.
Indeed so, but it sort of makes it better for us to watch, doesn't it? Because so dominant was he yesterday. If he can do that again, but having to overtake a few cars, then it's going to make for a good race.
Well, absolutely. Yesterday's race, there was a fair amount of chopping and changing and jostling for position going on over the first couple of corners. Particularly Jack Clark made a stormy start, didn't he, to get into second place, and then there was a bit of chopping and changing that went on both the Paddock and the Druids. But after that, it kind of settled down and people closed up on each other. But there was very little. I think Will Draft was about the only overtaker, wasn't he, for the duration of the race after that?
Certainly the leading gaggle, that's quite right. Yeah. But Dean Stoneman yesterday was a bit grumpy, wasn't he, when we heard from him? Yes, I think he'd run out of boost, but he sort of felt that, well, if you were that good in the first race, maybe he could have gone a bit better than 7th, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's worth bearing in mind, he's not yet 20. In fact, his 20th birthday is next week. Although, later this week now, it's Sunday, aren't we? So it's later this week that he's 20 years old. He's moved up into Formula 2, which is quite a long step up from Formula Renault, which is where he was racing last year. And so I think he is a natural-born racer, but there's still a fair bit to learn. I mean, he is still pretty young, and I can understand why his plan A, having not come off, being thwarted by the red flag, he didn't really want to contemplate plan B or anything else.
They've got 1 or 2 drivers sprinting back to their cars, I think, having had the need for a little pit stop.
That's right, yes. So Kazim Vasiliauskas, in his second season, and none of the youngsters, you've probably been making the point, David, that quite a few of these drivers are still in their late teens.
Say hello.
Tom Gladys is the youngest of all, and Julian Palmer, not much older than him. They're both, they won't be 20 until next year, in fact, so they're still 20 and a half. And Tom is the youngest, and having his first Formula 2 races of the year. Well, there's a chance to have a quick word with him. He's obviously focused on things. Can we have a quick word, Tom? Tom, you must be very pleased to be back so impressively in returning to Formula 2 this year.
I get very loud, I'll warn you now.
You did.
She goes, Mum, you can't hear us. I don't care, it makes me feel better.
Thanks, Tom. It's very difficult, of course. I hope you heard some of that, because he's got his engine still running. David, did you hear any of that?
Yeah, I did.
Good, right.
I've got the benefit of headphones, so to sort of retell the story, yes, he's saying it's great to be back, and it's like he's never been away, and it's good to be back part of the family. So it's not been easy, he was saying, because of course he doesn't have a huge budget, does he, for his racing, Tom?
Well, that's right. I mean, quite a few of these drivers. Formula 2 was devised, initiative by Max Mosley when he was president of the FIA, to enable drivers to move up into, actually head towards Formula 1 on a lower budget than is generally regarded as necessary to go through, whether it's Formula Renault, Formula 3, GP2 and so on. And it's achieving that aim in a way, but it's only its second season, so we can't expect to see Formula 2 drivers yet arriving in Formula 1, but it could happen fairly soon. And Tom Gladys is just the sort of example of somebody who has a tight budget, has to scrape the money together. The car totally devoid of sponsorship, you'll notice.
Yes.
It is really very difficult to get into it, even at this level, and having got there, to hang on in there.
And where better to have a good result than on home ground, so fingers crossed for Tom Gladys here. Of course, you get the prize at the end of the season of a Williams test drive. Andy Soucek, last year's champion, led to believe was somebody who really did impress the Williams Grand Prix team when he went and tested for them.
Well, indeed, he was quicker on the test day. He was given a full test day. It wasn't just a sort of token morning or something like that. He was given a full test day, and he was quicker on that day than Nico Hülkenberg, who of course is this year's Williams full-time driver. Now, Nico had come out of GP2 where he'd been the champion, so Nico Hülkenberg had a fair amount of experience in powerful single-seaters, but it was a very impressive performance by Andy Soucek, who, if you're here last year, you may remember seeing. So that's the 5-minute board being held up. 5 minutes to go to the start of the formation lap.
So the grid's starting to be cleared, and Will Bratt, one of the British drivers near the front of the grid, on the 6th rank there. Somebody else with a lot of experience of comparable cars, things like Euro 3000 and GP2. And like Dean Stoneman, somebody who was a graduate of Formula Renault.
I'm trying to find the boss, but I expected to find him around Jolyon Palmer's car, but Jonathan Palmer is...
He's heading back that way, I think.
Upside down, not the inside.
What, walking towards the front of the grid? Or
No, back that way, back towards Jolyon's car.
Okay, right, we'll see if I can grab a quick word with Jonathan before race gets underway. Let me just trip over the car. And Jonathan, we must have a word. We had a word yesterday, so Jolyon's further up the grid today, but a few words about Formula 2 generally, quickly.
Yeah, it's a very exciting weekend for us, of course. Formula 2 in partnership with World Touring Cars works really well indeed. Delighted to see that Andy Prio has got himself on, presumably pole position for the second race here. Championship's clearly very, very close indeed. Obviously, Jolyon's won 4 races, Dean Stoneman's won 4, but Enger's won a race, and it's about time Kazim Vasiliauskas won. He was a winner last year. And I think 10 cars covered by half a second just shows you how incredibly competitive Formula 2 is. And when you do put high caliber drivers in equal cars, there is very little between them, and it does fluctuate. Somebody will have a good day, a better day, make a fewer mistakes, and maybe a slightly better setup, and they'll be in front, and other days they won't.
Well, Jolyon further up the grid than Dean in the end following qualifying yesterday, so the gap is down to 5 points in the championship. It's getting close.
I think it's going to be a pretty nail-biting championship, actually. And obviously Jolyon's objective is to come away from here with increasing his points margin from this race over Dean. You know, Dean's a very tough racer. He's behind him, and it's not easy to overtake round here. I think people should appreciate it. Unfortunately, it is very difficult. We probably won't see many overtaking moves, and most of what's going to happen will happen in the first lap or two, I think.
Well, we better start making our way off the grid, but just quickly another word about the whole event, because the sun shines on Brands Hatch. This is Brands' best, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I watched the touring car race both from live on the track, but also from the TV pictures, and it looks so good, I must say. I think our team at Brands Hatch have done a very good job under Mike Groves, our circuit manager, honing the track for it. But most importantly, the fans being here today, and I think they're going to see they've seen some good action so far, and it's going to get better. I think Formula 2 and the last touring car race should be fantastic.
Absolutely, well done, Jonathan, to all you and all the team. Thanks very much indeed to Jonathan Palmer, Motorsport Vision. And so as we make our way off the grid, David, go back to you for what promises